in the night, your heart fills with dread. Probably a murderer who wants you dead. It could be a ghost, a demon, or worse. Perhaps you're the victim of a witch's curse. It's hopeless, you're doomed. You'd call a priest if you could. You'd rather just listen to who? Sinisterhood. Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Freaky Friday. It is Friday, September 22nd in the year of our Lord Beyonce, and
we're recording this on the 21st. It's Beyonce Day.
We're going tonight.
Beyond Day.
This day is upon us. Finally, it is here. We were just talking about we're supposed to wear chrome, but we just found out
I'm very stressed out
we have
about
to leave, so
this.
I might just wear my Margaritaville Crocs instead.
The only thing I have in my closet that is chrome are Crocs and a ridiculously ill-fitting skirt that is not a material that should have been used in making anything that I wore when I was an alien.
I'm telling you.
Last Halloween. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Full alien costume. Tell everybody you're alien superstar. Tell them that you're
could. I've never been a person to go all out for concerts as far as like dressing. Like Taylor Swift, there were so many amazing outfits. Lady Gaga, crazy. I prefer comfort, and I also sweat quite a bit while I'm jumping up and down and dancing. So, heels and stuff just don't work for me. I'm too old.
It's like as I get older and more unabashedly enthusiastic about things I like, concerts become like a full-on contact sport for me. I wore a sports bra to the LA Eras tour because I was like, I'm going to be jumping. I got to wear comfortable Crocs because I'm going to jump up and down. So yeah, when I was like, I have a very cute sparkly tank top, but hey, I can't really wear a bra with it. And if I'm jumping up and down, I'm going to slip something. And Beyonce, like, happy birthday, Beyonce.
Well, I got your solution. We got to get ourselves some chrome body paint real fast.
Okay.
Or some chrome pasties.
Right.
And you just put them over your little nips. And if they pop out, it's just part of the outfit.
Then there's like, I was prepared. I wanted this to happen. It's not an oopsie. Or I have a ranch costume. I was like, she sings about hot sauce in my bag. Swag. What if I was dressed up like a hot sauce bottle? I bet people would love it. People would probably take pictures. If I can find a hot sauce costume between now and the time we leave, I'll wear a hot sauce costume.
Oh, I love it. I legitimately have some hot sauce in my bag as we speak. And I almost had a full bean burrito in there. But I did remember last night when I got home from your house to take it out. And but I almost didn't. Then I would have gone this morning and been like, oh, I have a fully non-eaten Taco Bell bean burrito in here.
Yeah, you left the house. You just put it right down in your bag. You're like, it's fine. It's fine in here.
You go, do you want a bag for that? I was like, no. That's fine.
It's a fine leather bag for a bean burrito from Taco Bell to be carried in. Oh, man. Well, we've had quite a week this week because not only are you all going to hear us talk to Daisy Eagan, but you have accumulated several very jaw-dropping stories this week.
We got a lineup. I got to say, there's a lot that have been coming in lately that things are getting dark.
It's creepy.
I don't know what's going on, but lately the submissions have been much darker than usual. So I just want to let everyone know we're here for you.
Yeah, love you.
We love you. And, if you're going through some stuff, it's always healthy to get it out. A lot of people find that sharing it and writing it, even if you write it and you don't even send it to us, just like getting it out can often help. But if you do send it to us, thank you so much for trusting us with your story. And we got some lined up today that we're going to share with you.
And some of them that were inspired by other stories, as we always hear. So thanks again.
Well, I'm Christy.
I'm Heather.
And let's get creepy. This first one is from Jenna, and speaking of creepy, it's called Creepers Be Creepin'. Hello, lovely ladies. I always love listening to Freaky Fridays and was beside myself when you read my Cowheads and Tube Men story. I truly never expected it to be read. While that was an odd but rather silly story, I wanted to share one a little more sinister. This happened several years ago. I used to go for runs to and around my local park, which is about 6 blocks from my house. The trail through the north side entrance has a giant hill. I like to run up the hill, through the park, out the east entrance, through the neighborhood, and back through the north entrance to go back up the hill. I would make several loops around and run back home. I did this several times through the week. I took my old phone, which did not have service, but had all my music on it. I jogged 3 or 4 loops around listening to my music, only one earbud in, so I could still hear what was happening around me. On this particular day, I decided to make one more loop around and head home. This was in the late fall and it got dark early. So even though it was only 7:30 in the evening, it had fallen completely dark in the hour or so that I had been out. I was making my way towards the east side exit of the park. It led out to a street that had a house directly in front of the exit, with 2 empty wooded lots north of that house. There were no streetlights in this area. The closest was on the other side of the intersection, past the wooded lots. At the intersection, there was another house with a pickup truck parked between the side of the house and road. As I was rounding the corner about to exit, I barely saw from the corner of my vision a man exiting the gate surrounding the house across from the exit. I watched as he quickly walked into the wooded lot. As I said, it had gone completely dark outside and no streetlights. I had only noticed him from the glow of his porch light and the fact that he was wearing shiny silver basketball shorts. I could barely make out the sheen on his shorts to see that he was in the darkness, half behind a tree. My brain and body immediately went on high alert. I became very aware that the phone in my hand was useless. I had slowed to a walk, looking right where I knew him to be. I wanted him to notice me looking right at him, to know I saw him. In my sudden alertness, now turning to the brink of panic, I was trying to reason with myself on what my next move should be. I was afraid to turn my back. In my mind, as soon as I lost sight of him, he would run and be on me before I could see him. So I stayed walking, eyes staring in his direction. I took my useless phone and acted like I was dialing. I faked talking to my husband, loudly saying I was done and to start heading my way to meet me. I was as far away from where this man was, while still able to walk on the road. I just wanted to get to the intersection where it was light and make a run for it. To my terror, I watched and realized that this man didn't know I saw him. He slinked down in a crouch and very slowly started creeping towards the intersection as well, only a few steps ahead of me, on the opposite side of the road. I watched as he crept up the truck along the side of the house by the intersection and crouched down behind it, waiting for me to catch up. I started to freak out. I was still so scared to turn my back on him. Once I get to the intersection, do I turn like I would go home? Do I go straight and go some random way so he can't see where I'm actually going? I don't know what to do. All of this happened so unexpectedly and fast, and I still couldn't quite believe it was happening. Still at a slow walk, I was almost up to the truck. A few more steps, then I burst into the fastest run I have ever ran in my life. I didn't even know my legs could move that fast. I didn't look back. I couldn't tell what he did. I just ran until I felt my lungs would explode. I got to my house and swung open the door, collapsing on my couch and struggling to catch my breath. My alarmed husband was trying to get me to tell him what was happening. I couldn't even speak. I felt like I was having a heart attack. I was finally able to breathe and calm down and tell him what happened. While he was concerned, I truly feel he thought I was overreacting. He just kind of brushed it off and told me I need to run earlier so it doesn't get dark. It's hard to put into words how I felt from this experience. I was certain this man had been watching me run laps and waited for me to come around again to hide in the woods. This incident scared me enough that I quit running completely unless my husband went with me. It made me scared of my own neighborhood and made me realize how quickly things can happen and how fast my life could have changed. I don't know for certain what was going through this man's mind, but I'm certain it was nothing good. Stay alert, ladies. You never know who can be creeping around the corner.
Creeping is right. That's so eerie to think that you see someone and you know they're not trying to be seen. They're trying to lurk.
and it's you and him and nothing else but darkness for a long, long time.
I mean, I hate situations like this because it's yet another, scenario where a woman doesn't get to just go enjoy something. Like, Jenna, you deserve to go run. You deserve to run your loop and your hill in a place. I love to run. I don't do it as much anymore. My knees aren't as good, but I like to go for my long walks, go walk in the woods and stuff. And it does suck that as I've gotten older and the more experiences we all have like this, you start to say, okay, well, I have to text 3 people where I'm at. And I have my location on. So like 5 people know my location. I have my watch and my phone. I have my birdie device that I can yank and it's super loud. I have a whistle. I have a light. I have a knife. It's like, I can't, Paris will just go for a run. And I'm like, well, that must be nice. I have to carry a backpack.
You don't have to take a whole duffel bag full of tools just in case.
Yeah.
I saw a TikTok the other day of this guy that was like, I couldn't sleep. So I just went for a walk in New York City at 4 a.m. I'm like, can you imagine the freedom, what that must feel like, that
I'd love that.
You're like, oh, it doesn't even occur to you that something like that could happen. Meanwhile, this woman is being watched. And then, the whole time I was running around listening to my music, enjoying my run, I was being watched. Mm-hmm. And who knows what this guy was thinking about and planning. And he was waiting for me. And then he was really waiting for me. And I think, Jenna, you've handled it in the best way possible. I mean, whatever you got to do, and then just fucking haul ass. I will say, I don't love your husband's reaction.
That's what I don't like either. It's like, you weren't there, man. And it's not overreacting.
Also, you're a man, and you don't know what it's like to, like, it's not just, we'll just run earlier so it doesn't get dark. The darkness may have made this man feel a little bit safer to do what he was going to do, but women are abducted in parks and attacked all the time in broad daylight. So that doesn't solve it. But also, be compassionate, like, be an advocate for your wife. She's just had a very harrowing experience. Don't act like she's overreacting, because you can't understand what that fear feels like.
Right. And I think for a lot of men, until they listen to stories like this one, or like Andy from Let's Not Meet told us that he has a lot of male listeners write to him and go, oh, holy shit, I didn't know that this is what women face on a day-to-day basis. And I think more content like this, or TikTok, where I saw a woman on TikTok saying, I was trying to put my grogroceries in my car, and some guy
and
he whipped in and was like, are you sure you want to say that?
When she said, I have a boyfriend. Oh my gosh. He said, I've been watching you and waiting for you to come out. She'd been in the grocery store for like an hour. I mean, just harrowing, horrible stuff. And then she's left with this feeling of fear and, am I safe? Your whole world is shaken, and they just go on about their day.
Yeah. To do it to someone else, honestly. Yeah. I will say, if you run in the running community, or like the trail walking community, I have a lot of love for, like, Dallas people run around Katy Trail or White Rock Lake or whatever. And I do feel like there is a sense of, like, watch for your neighbor. Like, I don't feel like if I went out at dusk on a path where it's for that purpose. But the shitty thing is I shouldn't have to go all the way to White Rock Lake and go for a walk or a run. I should be able to run in my own neighborhood. We should all be able to run in our own neighborhoods. So I hate that he ruined running for you, Jenna. And I hope you can find a place where you feel, because it's fun to run with a partner, with a friend, a spouse, whatever. But there is something really accomplishing feeling of taking on going, I'm going to do one more loop. I can do this. I have this. And that singular individual, like, accomplishment. And I hate that, because women can't feel safe everywhere, we get robbed of certain experiences like that. So I hope there's a place where maybe there's some better lighting or other runners or something where you can feel safe to get back out there. But your experience, you did not overreact whatsoever at all. This was probably what I would have done.
And I think that there's also nothing wrong with reporting that to the police once you get home. And also, you got to take a phone that works. Yeah, I know that you want your phone with music, but you also got to take a phone that works.
I remember back in the day having to make that choice before iPhones had music on them. I remember having my iPhone and having an iPod and being like, oh, well, I can't take both. I can't carry them. I'll just take my iPod. And now that I run like I said, I'm so connected. I'm like, damn, I used to just go in the mean streets of Chicago running loose, nothing. But now I always just feel safer telling people before I go, especially if I'm going to go walk a long hike that's kind of less It like if I were going to pass out, for instance, on a hike, which has recently happened, but like that where you say, okay, I'm leaving at this time or whatever. It's just it bums me out that we all have to do these safety precautions and things like that. But it's kind of one of those things you get in the habit of, and better safe than sorry.
Yeah. Well, I hope, Jenna, that you are able to start running again and enjoying it on your own. And I agree. Stay alert, ladies.
Sinisterhood will be right back. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Even if I have a comfortable place to sleep and it's nice and cool, and even if I have my music on, sometimes my brain is like, oh, I don't care about any of that. You're staying up all night with these racing thoughts, baby. Wake up. Hey, have you thought about that thing from 5 years ago you regret? And I was like, no, I was trying to listen to music. But thanks.
I couldn't go to sleep the other night, racing thoughts. And then at 2 a.m. started to panic because I realized I don't think I followed Taylor Swift on Instagram. Oh my God. And I grabbed my phone from the nightstand and went on Instagram. Turns out somehow I wasn't. Because I was like, how am I not seeing all of these vault things pop out? So that's where my mind was at 2 a.m. Then you get on Instagram and it's like, well, now I'm here. Yeah. And then before you know it, it's 4 a.m.
Sucks you in.
Many of us find that right about the time we're trying to go to sleep, that's when our minds decide to start reeling. You need rest, but your brain won't shut up. It's not just bedtime, though. Your mind races at plenty of inopportune times. I know mine does.
And a great way to make those thoughts go away or to quiet a chatty brain is to talk through those thoughts with someone else. Therapy is a great place to do that. Talking to a professional can get you out of that negative thought spiral and bring some mental and emotional peace. And that's why I love my therapist, who I found through BetterHelp, especially back when I was practicing law and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm having these spiraling, racing thoughts all the time. Understanding there are coping mechanisms. There's techniques I can use to deal with those and to take better care of myself. So something like that I never would have thought of until I talked to somebody.
Therapy isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try.
BetterHelp is convenient, flexible, affordable, and entirely online. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge.
Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/sinister today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/sinister. Well, Heather,
bad news.
You don't read the stories I read ahead of time.
I
don't know if you've read this. But the first of all, this is from your daughter, Anonymous.
Hello, sweetheart.
So she's written in, but the subject line is that time Heather was proposed to in a corrupt, drug-riddled town where law enforcement not only covers up murder, but also commits murder and openly talks about it.
So that part I've read only.
Okay, well, buckle up.
So, and I know where I was proposed to at. So I have a feeling I know what this story centers on.
Hey, everyone. I'm going to get right to the story. Way back when you, Heather, mentioned you were proposed to in a town known as Broken Bow, Oklahoma. I am a local to this town known as Hatchetown. It's incorporated now and has its own name, but for years was associated with Broken Bow, the larger town right next to it. It's a beautiful, small, sleepy town, but it has a dark underside. It's no secret there's a lot of shady dealings happening in the town. It's a party town, and where there's a party, there's drugs. Where there's drugs, there's money, and where all of that is, there's usually corrupt law enforcement. Welcome to McCurtain County. You may have heard of it. It recently made national news when the sheriff and select law enforcement was secretly recorded talking about killing and burying bodies and making very disgusting racial and violent comments. Look up McCurtain County on TikTok if you would like to hear what exactly was said. While you're there, you may see mentions of one of our most recent, quote, accidental deaths, Alyssa Walker, an African-American, Native American female who died under extremely suspicious circumstances. You will find multiple articles and statements from her family and friends explaining how there's no way in hell she accidentally drowned. There's enough information for an entire episode, honestly, but I don't want to state any facts and be incorrect, so I encourage everyone listening to please go read about it. There's other deaths and missing persons to look into as well. For instance, James Kurt Peavy, a father who disappeared 7 years ago without a trace and without any investigation into it. It's heavily believed our law enforcement knows exactly what happened to him, which is why they refuse to investigate. A man named Eric Haley is currently listed as a missing person as well, vanished without a trace. Two things these three cases have in common is the very vocal and active family members pushing for real investigations. The second common denominator is a law agency that refuses to serve and protect its people. They are covering up for the people who committed these crimes, the ones lining their pockets. Governor Stint even called for their resignation, but somehow these horrible monsters are still in office. I only listed 3 names, but there are multiple deaths and missing persons in this area that are believed to be part of a cover-up. This place may seem beautiful on the outside, but inside, it is hurting. There are many loved ones who are fighting for justice and fighting for closure. I hope and pray they receive it someday. Most of us locals love the hotspot our hometown has become for mostly Dallas area tourists, and we hope with y'all's help we can bring more attention to what's going on. Side note, Heather, I'm going to need you to come back now that I know your face. When I first started listening, I went a long time without looking you up on socials. But if I saw you at the restaurant I work at now, then I too will have a shitting my pants in public story. Also, Heather, sorry if this ruins any good memories for you.
Oh, no worries. No worries at all about my memories. It's wild though, because Anonymous is absolutely right that I just was listening to a podcast and, there's dynamic inserted ads or whatever that's based on your location and where you've been and words you've said. And I get ads for McCurtain County. It's like, can you imagine the smell of s'mores, the beautiful wind, the wind blowing through the trees, wonderful views. McCurtain County is waiting for you. And it's like, the sheriff said he loves to lynch Black people specifically. He says there's a large grave that he can put all their bodies into. Ha, 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 ha.
This was what was recorded?
Yeah. So that's what it's like. Interesting to hear. I remember the racist recordings being from Oklahoma, but I had not connected the McCurtain County until now hearing this, and it's all coming together. And yeah, the sheriffs, there was a commissioners meeting, and at it, the sheriffs and some deputies were all sitting around kind of joking about people that they would kill and how my daddy knew he'd throw somebody down in this. There's a hole dug. You can just throw somebody in it. And the journalist that got the audio recording and of course released it, the sheriffs were like, well, that was illegally obtained and we're going to get that back. Of course you want to get it back because you were shown to be extremely racist. So the governor asked him to step down. He wouldn't, and then asked the attorney general to do an investigation.
He wouldn't? Are you allowed to say no?
Yeah, the governor said, all right, well, this is a bad look. Could you step down? The sheriff was like, nope. And he doesn't.
The governor can't fire you?
So that's what the governor told the attorney general. This man is locally elected. So the only way he can be ousted under the statute is if he is found to have committed a crime or, these enumerated reasons. And then it just came out on June 30th, not just came out, but a couple of weeks later, the attorney general was a public letter to the governor that said, he's been found to commit no crime. It's horrible what he said. We can't do anything about that. There's nothing that says he could be removed for like bringing shame on office or being blatantly racist. So he,
well, there should be.
Yeah, one would think. I believe the attorney general said, if you would like to oust him, he said, to the extent you remain committed to seeing Sheriff Clardy removed from office, I suggest you appeal to the men and women responsible for electing him. So McCurtain County, do better. And to that extent, I would say Dallas residents, if it's a beautiful place. But I would say until the folks around there know, we're not going to go. Like, I would love for me and you and Tommy and Paris to have like a Broken Bow weekend. It would be so much fun. Get a cabin. But yeah, then you're having to go and spend your tax dollars in a county that's essentially said it's not safe for my husband to go there. So we're not going to go there. And so I think the city has to, in the election, whenever the sheriff gets elected next, there has to be a major push of, listen, we are losing money. This kind of racism, yeah, it's fucking abhorrent, but people apparently don't give a fuck enough about that. So tell them where they do give a fuck. And it is, get this fucking guy out of office. And I think the more of us that say, we're not going to do that, we're not going to support a place like that. I'm really sorry for you, Anonymous, that, you have to work in a place that is reliant on tourism dollars, and to have your livelihood now threatened because the government officials refuse to take responsibility for their actions and say, oh my gosh, it's abhorrent, I shouldn't have said that. But you had to stand behind it and be like, fuck it, that's how we talk. By the way, give us that recording back. It's nasty. It's terrible.
It's got Ashton and Mila vibes. Well, but it wasn't meant to be heard by anybody. So, that doesn't mean you don't say it. And many would say what you say when no one can hear you is your true character.
Miss Mole used to say true integrity is how you behave when no one's looking.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that tells us what we need to know about. Again, like I said, I love that place. I would love to go back. I do have a wonderful memory of it. But yeah, if I'm like, my family's not safe going there, given these comments and that this person hasn't been ousted, you can play all the dynamic ads you want in my podcast. I'm not going to go.
Yeah. And I hope for these missing and people that their families believe that they were murdered and investigations haven't been conducted. I also agree that with Anonymous, I hope that those families get closure and that the McCurtain County residents can oust this complete monster that should have no business being in any kind of position of power.
No, and I think we're seeing, hopefully, I keep using the phrase, the age of accountability. Like, I feel like we saw this Texas town where there was like 250 residents and 50 police officers, just absolute corruption, that they had bloated this entire police force and were giving tickets to literally anybody because they just had to like keep themselves in business. And so the citizens are like, we're drowning. We can't live like this. And then it all gets on the news, or it goes viral on TikTok, or it's covered, something where there's more eyes on it. So the more and more attention that can be brought to these cases in McCurtain County, the better. So thank you, Anonymous, for sending them to us. And we'll definitely look into them and see if maybe there is an episode we can do.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Sinisterhood. We'll be right back. Well, this next one is from Rachel. And the subject line is, I must have ESPN or something. I love both of you. I lived in Texas when I was younger for about 8 or 9 years. It was the happiest time in my childhood, and I got a bluebonnet tattoo to commemorate that time. Heather, I also had firefighters come to my school in Killeen with one of those trailers. I'm so glad someone else remembers them. Anywho, I have 2 short knowing the future stories, one with a close brush with true crime. The first one is ridiculous, but my mom still brings it up. When I was 9, my mom picked up a tabloid with Princess Diana, R.I.P., on the cover. I asked why people were being so mean and still making fun of her after she'd already died. My mom said I must have mixed her up with someone else. Confused, I said I was pretty sure she was the one who died 2 years before in a car crash going through a tunnel. Well, we all know what happened 2 years later. I'm almost 40 now, and my mom still thinks I should have been interviewed on Oprah. The next one is kind of a brush with true crime. Back in 2015, when my son was 1.5, we, and a daughter in utero, made our way to Target. Something in me said to keep driving, turn around, and go home. Obviously, my pregnancy hormones were making me insane if I felt like I didn't need to go to Target, right? Well, as I kept driving there, a flash of a man running with a knife entered my brain so heavily that I could have sworn he had crossed the street in front of me. My inner voice then boomed, "Go home." And something inside me grabbed my hands and legs and steered me past the parking lot to make a U-turn and head home. Literally 4 hours later, I got a news ping on my phone about a mentally unwell man running into Target and stabbing a 16-year-old with a knife. It happened right at the time I would have walked in and been in his line of eyesight. I'm so sorry about what happened to that poor teenager, but I never would have forgiven myself for completely ignoring my intuition and putting my kids in harm's way just for some cute shoes. I'll send an article about that one. I also have ghosty stories as well as sleep paralysis ones if you want. By the way, my handle on Instagram is Thank You for Ranting, and I totally have those crock dusters you said you'd take 2 of. I'd love to have the addresses you need me to send them to. I'm so sad I was out of town for your Pittsburgh show, and I promise to be there next time you come through. Keep it creepy.
That is a very specific thing to say about Princess Di. I mean,
a 9-year-old too.
Yeah. The fact that she thought she had died 2 years prior, but really she died 2 years later, makes me think of some kind of timeline thing. Like, why was it both 2 years,
I don't know. There's been times though where it's like a weird feeling where you're like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. But this is so specific. to specifically say in a car accident in a tunnel. And again, it's just your 9-year-old and you're like, well, she's alive right now on the cover of this magazine. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 2 years later when that happened, you'd be like, get in here, Rachel. How the fuck did you know that? But
call up Oprah for sure.
Oh yeah, call up. Well, the idea of just driving to Target and you have that feeling where you're like, this isn't right. I don't know why I'm not going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And that, but again, we've had that gut instinct of like, I'll just go home. And then you hear something happen later. I'm going to take the day off work and something happens. But to see a vision of a man with a knife specifically, like you said, there's some timeline something going on.
Yeah, or you've tapped into something that a lot of people don't have, but good for you for listening to it. Kept you and your kid and your one in utero and safe, and you too. Well, according to the article, luckily the 16-year-old that was harmed recovered, but what a traumatic experience to just have some person run up in a Target of all places where, you know, your guard is down in places like that. Like you don't expect stuff like that.
No, it's definitely an eerie situation when it's just something, it's an everyday situation. Going to get groceries at Target, buy shoes, you're going shopping. The 16-year-old girl is, you know, in town visiting family, going to buy something, and you don't expect the day to take a turn like that. But to get home and see that you narrowly escaped your day taking a turn like that's definitely an eerie feeling. Well, this next one is from Jay, and the subject line is Best Friends Forever. Hi, y'all. Thank you for sharing the supernatural, whether sinister or not. I'm grateful for this outlet to share these stories as I'm writing to help process some recent events, and I figured my story might help others processing similar situations as well. My best friend died in Afghanistan in 2014. We met in 5th grade, and he was always a stable, positive, encouraging, and confident presence in my life. We'll call him Tom. I'm a girl, and he was a guy, but the friendship was always 100% platonic. He had the same steady girlfriend for several years, while I dated several of his friends. Tom joined the military after high school, and I went to college. We always stayed close on a best friends level, and the friendship lasted despite breakups, college, deployments, life events, moving, etc. When he was deployed for the final time, I was engaged to a guy I met in college. I'm now divorced from this dude due to his emotional instability and lack of personal insight into who he actually was or what he wanted. But at the time, I was so excited to get married and, of course, invited Tom and his girlfriend. Tom was deployed and expressed his regret about being unable to attend, but his girlfriend RSVP'd yes. Tom was killed on my mom's birthday, 2 weeks before my wedding. We attended the funeral and then got married a week later. For obvious reasons, his girlfriend was unable to make my big day. But as I turned around at the altar after saying I do to college dude, I looked out into the audience and saw Tom, alone, in the very back pew at the very back of the church, all by himself in one of the 4 button-down shirts I'd known him to own. There was a shadow over the back pews, so I couldn't make out his face or other details, but I knew it was him, the closest thing I'd ever had to a brother. He had made it to my wedding after all, despite the regret he had shared over being unable to attend while here on Earth due to his deployment. He was there for the moment, but as the night went on, I didn't see him again. Fast forward to today. I'm now happily divorced, and college guy has remarried a girl with weirdly similar hobbies to mine who shares my hair and eye color. Talk about having a type, am I right? I'm single, working in a career field I love, and living in a town where Tom and I grew up. A few days ago, I attended an event recognizing a new building named in Tom's honor. While I saw several friends there and keep a steady social life otherwise, I left with a heavy feeling on my heart, knowing it's been almost 10 years since Tom's passing. I was thinking back on our friendship and memories when I said a little prayer, asking God to tell him in heaven that we miss him here on earth. Not long after I said this little prayer, I opened up my Instagram and saw a suggested post in my timeline from an account I didn't follow. It was a little graphic with the words, "Whoever sent this to you thinks you're a really good friend and wants you to know that." I smiled. I hadn't prayed that prayer out loud where my phone could hear. I hadn't used terms or phrases in my text messages regarding the event that used the word friend or anything like that. And I haven't had any similar suggestions on my Instagram since then. Thanks, Tom. And thanks God for getting my message to him. I miss my best friend, but I'm grateful for the peace in knowing a good friend is never really gone.
That's a beautiful way to remember him. Beautiful story. To have such a happy, well, at the time you think you're going to be happy, and then a tragedy like that happen right before, it's always, there's like a sense of guilt, like, should we still be doing this? And then even if you do, you can't fully enjoy it because part of you is hurting so bad. So I'm so glad you were able to look out and have some reassurance and, a little like salve on your soul for that moment.
Right, that feeling of warmth and love of he's here in spirit, like that part of him that you carried forever since he was deployed, since you had been friends for so long, and hadn't seen each other on a regular basis. I think we carry a part of other people with us, and that's such a nice, like, when you can look out and see almost like a physical manifestation of it. And something like that, a little message, like where you just pull up your phone and it's what you needed to hear at that time. And it's like you said, thanks, Tom. I know you're looking out for me. To me, I'll be like, if I'm thinking about a loved one and a song will come on that like I think of them, I'm like, oh, hey, what's up, Dad? Or what's up? Hey, what's up, Mama? Like, you almost feel like you're thinking of them and it kind of conjures them, whether it's really them playing the song or not. I don't care. To me, I'm like, hey, thanks for playing my jam for me.
Perception's reality.
Right.
But also, I don't think there's anything harmful. And if, you open up your Instagram and think it's a message from a friend that you're missing and that is what you needed to hear, then that's what you needed to hear.
Exactly. Like
whether it's the algorithm or somebody reaching out to say hi, if it makes you feel better, then that's all that matters.
Right. So we need that salve for our souls. Well, thank you very much, Jay, for sharing that with us. Sinisterhood will be right back. This next one's from Corinne, and the subject line is High School Shenanigans, the Malevolent Muppet Mystery. Hey, Christy and Heather. Thank you for keeping me company on my drives and putting on a fabulous show about the moon in Denver. I listen to you all the time on my way to coach synchronized swimming, and I have to be super careful that you're paused before I hook up my phone to our sound system when I get there. But I'm working on raising your next generation of spooky thing lovers. Tonight, I heard someone's story about school being suddenly canceled for not flesh-eating bacteria, and it triggered my own mysterious school cancellation story. On a cold January day in 2010, I drove my brother to our small K-12 school in Colorado. I was a senior and he was a sophomore, celebrating his 16th birthday that very day. As we turned into the school, we noticed a weird number of cars turning out of the school, including some cars I recognized as my classmates who should be parking in the high school parking lot. Why were they leaving the school at 7:45 a.m.? When we finally made it up the school driveway, we were turned back with many police cars and various emergency vehicles blocking off the parking lot. Sometime in the traffic jam, my flip phone started buzzing with the high school gossip chain. They found a suspicious package in the parking lot. This was a shortly past 9/11 world. Suspicious packages was code for obviously terrorists have infiltrated our suburban Colorado town where nothing happens. Confused about where to go with our routine disrupted, we returned to the main road and drove home. I did not realize then that my brother has spooky intuition for how serious a situation should be, and he was completely right here too. So when he irreverently exclaimed that it was a birthday bomb, I should have known how this would turn out. Back at home, we pulled up the local news website, and of course, the text rumor mill continued. A mother of an elementary school student identified the package while dropping her kid off early. It was a black bag with weird cans in it, and something bloody was in it. The SWAT team was at the school. They had that robot thing out there like we were in the Hurt Locker. The Boulder Bomb Squad finally deemed the suspicious package safe enough to approach without getting blown up. They tentatively approached and unzipped the duffel, and there was indeed a redded being in there. Our English teacher's Kermit doll, riddled with red paint. And the sketchy cans? Axe spray. It's a high school in 2010. Obviously, Axe body spray was involved. It turns out some kids in 10th or 11th grade stole the Kermit doll and decided it needed a deadly-looking makeover in the form of paintballs or Sharpie or something. Once that was done, they stuffed poor Kermit into someone's duffel bag and left it as a joke in the bed of their friend's pickup truck while he was finishing sports practice. When the friend came back at the end of the day, He certainly didn't want to bring Kermit's corpse home, so he pulled it out of his truck, plopped it on one of the islands in the parking lot, and went on his merry way, unaware he'd just incited a bomb incident. I don't think anyone faced charges once things were straightened out, although there was a hot minute when they thought it was my senior class prank. We took particular offense to this since when we were in 8th grade, again, K through 12 school, the senior class blamed their second prank on the 8th graders, and we were done being blamed for shenanigans we did not shenaniganize. Link below is the article from the day of the incident. We got a day off school that I completely misused by studying for AP Calculus instead of being a rebellious teenager, and we went back to school on Thursday like nothing had happened. Oh, no.
I don't love everything about this because there is fear in the beginning. But imagining the Hurt Locker robot bomb thing having to go out there.
This article, please go to our Instagram. I swear to you, I will post this. It says emergency personnel take pictures of Kermit the Frog in the parking lot from the Peak to Peak Charter School Wednesday morning. The doll with other suspicious items were found in the parking lot. Listen, I'm glad that they come out and they take it seriously, but this fucking photo of the crime scene taking pictures of Kermit the Frog is next level, dude. It's the best picture I've ever seen.
Is this real?
Yeah, it's so good.
No, they had to have staged this.
It's so good. Paul Aiken, photographer for the Daily Camera, would never stage an image. He's there to capture reality, and that's what happened.
It's so much bigger than I thought it was.
It's humongous. I'm really sorry that they wrecked that. As a person who collects weird dolls and stuff, it bums me out that your English teacher lost her big ass Kermit, because that looks like a dope doll.
Yeah, it looks like it's missing a leg.
They ripped its foot off.
Its leg is laying over beside it on the asphalt.
Honestly, Kermit looks like he got into some Acme dynamite or something and like blew up. It's like ridiculous. But that is such a wacky. Yeah, your brother was right. It was a birthday bomb. It was a present inside.
It was. They were like, you don't need to come to school today. How embarrassing, though, that you're like, oh, stupid friends, and you just toss the duffel bag because you're like, I'm not going to deal with this. And then everyone's like, oh my God, did you hear there's a bomb at school? What? Uh-oh.
You're like, yeah, it's a black duffel bag with cans and something bloody in it left on an island. And you're like,
oh, whoops. Axe body spray, man. Oh, yeah. Just someone saying that, it's visceral. I immediately can smell it. It's so much.
It's just its own sharp scent.
It's its own thing
until the mid 2000s, and now we can't leave it because those cans are forever.
Is it still around?
Oh yeah, they produce it. Oh yeah. If you accidentally find yourself in that Target aisle, you're like, okay, I know where I'm at. All right,
is that a deal? Is that a deal breaker, ladies? If you're dating someone, it's early on. You're dating. You go over to their house, you're using the bathroom, and you see like a can of Axe body spray there. Are you like, oh, well, this isn't going to work out? You say, you know what? It's not that bad. Do you let it slide?
It would depend. If you're both teenagers in high school, then it's fine.
What's the age cutoff for being allowed to use Axe body spray?
I would say like 2 years out of college, but also I feel like Axe does
of college?
Yeah, like because guys aren't going to like completely, they're not they should have a finishing class for all of us, honestly, when we graduate anything and be like, listen, we left some shit out and we're going to just give it to you straight right here. We have 30 minutes. Go. All right. Here's some like personal hygiene things we need to cover. Here's this. And just don't overdraw your checking account. Fees are crazy. Credit cards.
Yeah.
You're going to pay a lot of interest. Let me tell you.
Tommy and I talk all the time about how no one in high school that isn't maybe your parents, and if they don't do it, then you're just fucked, like tells you how those things work. Like, you know what I mean? Like the importance of like credit and all of that. Like you just don't know. And then you graduate and you're an idiot and you run up a bunch of credit cards and then you're paying for it for decades.
Right. That's what I got an email from the Dallas bar, and some organization was asking for volunteers to go to schools and be like, hey, we're going to give you this like smart money system program. It was kind of like, I don't know if it's from the federal government, the FTC or somebody, but it's kind of like a little prepackaged school approved thing. But also they were asking for particularly bankruptcy and consumer attorneys to go out and talk to students and be like, I'll tell you what happens if you run up a credit card and don't pay it off. Like, here's kind of worst case scenario, but also on the front end, how it works and how it functions. Because like you said, no one's telling us. No one told me.
No, I was, there was a lot of stuff that I think we should have all been taught at some point in our educational years that just doesn't get taught. Maybe it does now. I don't know.
Well, I think we can blame the government going in and being like, well, you have to ring a bell every 4 minutes and make sure the kids are learning, and then they'll be regurgitating the information on a standardized test with bubbles in it. I'm sure if we would trust educators to educate instead of forcing guidelines on them that are meaningless and just done by corporations, we probably would get some even better stuff than we already get. But unfortunately, there's a lot of that. Thanks, George W. Bush.
Get me started on standardized tests.
I remember being like, these tests suck shit when I was a kid. And my mom's like, thank W. And I was like, whatever. And then I grew up and I was like, no, it was him. It was Texas's fault. So sorry, America.
I don't do well on standardized tests. And it sucks because I'm a smart person. But if that's what you're going to let somebody into college over, it really sucks if you don't test well.
Mm-hmm. And then you do get to label people as, oh, well, you're a low achiever, you're a high achiever. And it's like some people are just good at memorizing, and some of them have ADHD and completely zone out during the math part of the SAT and get almost a 0 on it. So.
Oh, dude, the math part. I don't even know if I scored anything. I mean, it was rough. It was rough.
It was just like, oh, I'm gonna guess. So
I wonder if I took that test now, how I would do. Is there a way you can just take the SAT for, I'm going to say for funsies.
Let's do it for fun.
I just want to see if I, with no preparation, if I would score higher now than I did when I took it in high school.
That would be fun. We should, because I know they changed the elements of it, so we would have to find like a practice one from when we took it if we wanted like a 1-to-1 measurement. Because I think it used to be it was scored between, I don't know, like 500 and 1500, and now it's like 800 and 2300 or something. You know what I mean? I think they changed like what all you have to like. Yeah, you know what I mean? What all you have to do. So
I think 1600 was the highest when I
feel like me too.
When I took it that you could get, when I was nowhere close to that one. I'll tell you that right now. And then I had a lot of friends take the ACT.
Yeah, I never took that.
I didn't either, but my friends that took it were like, it's easier and the scoring is easier.
Someone should have told me that.
I know, because I think that one is like something to 30 or 35. So, it's a different scoring system and it's easier to score higher, apparently. I don't even know if they still do that.
No, I do remember whatever I scored, it was like reasonably near what Jessie on Saved by the Bell scored when she was devastated that she thought her life was over. And I remember having seen that. And then I remember getting my score and I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, shit. Was that when she was taking caffeine pills to stay up to study and Zach had to confront her? I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so scared, Zach.
Jessie, what are these? Jessie, what
are these? That
these?
scene lives in my head rent free. I think I thought about that like within the past week. I've thought about that scene.
That's why when we had that 90s party for my sister's birthday and Aaron, for his high proof, he goes, I'm going to make a tumbler for it. And I was like, can you carve Jesse Spano crying on the front of this cup? And he was like, you bet your ass I can. And I was like, that's a high proof way. I was like, I have a mug that says, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And it's her crying on the front. But I think that I can't remember if it's that one. I definitely know it's the same one where she's, they're trying to be part of like a girl group and they were jumping on trampolines. This took a turn into Saved by the Bell memories, but
I don't remember that one. And I think I've seen them all. I probably would if I started watching it. But well, what a show.
Floods back. And they're all like 35 on that show.
Oh my gosh. We were talking about this recently. That and 90210. We're like, we all watched that just like, yeah, this is what high schoolers look like.
I remember as a kid being like, getting into high school and being like, what are these fucking kids in here?
You're like, I don't see anyone that looks like Luke Perry.
Yeah.
Excuse me, where is the motorcycle?
Yeah, why aren't any of you guys have like gray at your temples or
Right?
like some crow's feet around your eyes?
Oh man, so well dressed. So just, I mean,
always.
they were all rich. So
That's how it is in old SoCal on TV.
the
It's a magical place.
90210, or
Well,
as we recently saw on TikTok,
oh, gosh.
someone giving the ad, or someone asked what the bathroom code at Starbucks was, and the barista said 90210, and the person that asked died because they were like, you're so young that you don't know that that's 90210.
Like, oh, this is horrifying. Oh no. Sinisterhood will be right back. Oh, man. Well, our last story is actually from a friend of ours, Daisy Eagan from the Strange and Unexplained Podcast. And Daisy not only has Strange and Unexplained, but she has an all-new podcast that she tells us about in this interview as well, called Dear Daisy, which is about secrets.
I love this concept so very much. People can send written letters to her or online letters. It's anonymous. And then she reads those letters. They are secrets. And she says, some of them are, lighthearted, but most of them people really pour their heart out. And it's kind of like when we have done the Reddit, the subreddit of Get Off My Chest. Like sometimes people just need an outlet where they can say what they need to say, and it's anonymous, and Daisy is giving you that outlet.
And for all, if you're not familiar with the Strange and Unexplained podcast, she covers pretty much kind of similar things that we do, but in her own way. She's got her own twist on it. But things like alien abductions, phenomenon, true crime. You'll hear us talk about one of her favorite cases in this interview, and a case that we started looking up too after we talked with her. So we hope you enjoy her Freaky Friday story, and check out Strange and Unexplained wherever you get your podcast, and check out Dear Daisy on the Grab Bag Collab Network on Patreon. We'll put all the links in the show notes.
Also, she's going to be at Obsess Fest, just like we will, October 20th through the 22nd here in Dallas. We're so excited. You can go to sinisterhood.com/live shows, and we have the link there for tickets on passes and information. It's going to be such a fun weekend. There's podcasters, listeners, kind of everyone just... there's no like gatekeeping. It's just podcasters and listeners kind of walking around together. So it's nice because usually we're backstage, we do the show, and then we go backstage again. So we don't get a ton of interaction with listeners. So this is going to be a really fun way to do that.
Right. We're all kind of into the same things. We're going to do a live show recording. So make sure you're there for it. And then also we're going to go attend stuff because there's live shows, panels, and there's game shows that we're going to be in, happy hours. So we can't wait to see y'all there. But until then, enjoy our conversation with the incomparable, fabulous Daisy Eagan. Hi, everybody. Today we are joined by Daisy Eagan of the Strange and Unexplained Podcast. Each week she takes you into a fascinating and terrifying tale, all the kind of stuff we love and we know you'll love too. There's Ray Rivera, The Bell Witch, Lake City Quiet Pills, New Jersey Watcher, and tons of stuff that we've never even looked at, like what's going on with The Simpsons and why can they predict the future. So we're so excited to have somebody who's into so much of the same stuff as us. Daisy Eagan, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad this worked out. We had a lot of technical issues to the point where we started to think that like something was interfering supernaturally.
Right? I was
honestly, we're three powerful witches. So I assume when you get us together, it's just everything. Computers don't know how to behave.
It's going to glitch. It's going to glitch with us. Well, Strange and Unexplained, you're going to be at Obsess Fest too. So we're really excited to see you perform live at Obsess Fest and get to hang out with you. Tell us a little bit about what kind of your favorite cases are to cover and what all y'all talk about on Strange and Unexplained.
Oh man. First of all, I love it so much. And when Patrick approached me with this idea, I remember thinking like, there can't be that many cases. Like, how can you? And then of course I remembered that, Unsolved Mysteries was on the air forever.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So there's no what am I trying to say? There's
like
no
a lack of stories.
The well runs deep, unfortunately.
I always say that my brain is like rotted Swiss cheese right now. I love covering cases that are truly confounding. Like, I recently covered the Yuba County 5, which,
yes.
yeah. And, and universally the response has been like, I don't get, like, what could have happened,
Right.
And some people, it just, for your listeners, like these 5 guys in the 70s who were all developmentally disabled except for one who was schizophrenic and like violently schizophrenic, went on a road trip to see a basketball game, and then they ended up this mountain and they disappeared, and it took way too long to find them. It should not have taken that long, and they were all dead except for the guy who had the schizophrenia. He was gone, and they have never found him. And so a lot of people think like, oh, he must have done, because he had a very violent past. But he was on his meds and he was doing well. And his father said, like, you can tell when he's not on his meds. He was on his meds. His doctors were like, this is a really successful case of somebody who's been able to like bounce back. And unless he had some weird anomalistic, like psychotic break while he was on his meds and thought maybe they were in trouble or they were being chased or something, maybe he convinced them like, we got to run. But I don't think he killed them.
Yeah.
And it's
how
just
were they found dead? Were there wounds?
No. So 2 of the men were found on the road, like this like logging road, basically, which again, the fact that they didn't see this road or search this road or go down this road doesn't make sense, because it should have been on the maps. It's like a service road.
Yeah.
But they didn't see it until the snow had melted, and 2 of them were dead on the road, and dead they were skeletons. And then one of them, there was this trailer about 19 miles down this road, like a Forest Service trailer. And one of them was found completely tucked in, like somebody had tucked him in and his hands were on his chest.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he had been dead for, they said, somewhere between, it was a short, like if they had found him 2 weeks earlier, he might have been alive.
Wow.
And they could tell from like the beard growth. But the craziest thing about it, aside from the fact that nobody knows what happened and this guy disappeared, is that in the trailer and in this little storage shed near the trailer, there was enough food to feed them for months and months and months, like military meals. There was like a generator or whatever. They could have had heat, and there was all this extra warm clothing, and they didn't touch any of it. And it looks like they never even tried to start a fire. Like it's so
something
strange.
happened. Sounds like something happened almost immediately upon getting there.
Right? Like something came upon them, or like you said, it got them to run out and away from safety and food and power. It's like Dyatlov Pass, shades of Dyatlov Pass.
Yes, totally. Wow. It did make me think of that too. So yeah, I love, and the Dyatlov Pass was also another one where it's just like, what happened?
Yeah, right. Stick with us.
Yeah. None of the explanations make any sense, So I really love covering things like that. And then honestly, I call myself a gullible skeptic. Like I'm pretty skeptical, but I can also be drawn in pretty easily. But I do really appreciate like alien stories that we also can't explain away.
Yeah.
Obviously there's life elsewhere.
Yes.
And, or we live in a simulation and it's just somebody playing
also a possibility.
Something we've thought about as well.
Oh,
we
yes.
just interviewed the director of the Aerial Phenomenon, which is about that aerial school UFO incident in Rua, Zimbabwe, and just talking to people who are like, no, this is real, and then we don't know what it really is, but we know it's something. That's those type of mysteries just always stay with us forever.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I feel like it's like if you're driving somewhere and you come across like a really gross, sketchy town and you're like, I don't need to stop there. I feel like that's what happens when they come by Earth. They look at us and they're like, no, we're good. We're fine. Thank you.
We've seen enough. We're okay.
Lock the spaceship doors, like we're all set. We're all good. No, for real. Well, and you have the Strange and Unexplained podcast, but you're also launching a new podcast called Dear Daisy. That's about, speaking of unexplained, it's about secrets. So you're going to get secrets from listeners, like real life people, things they've never told anybody before.
Yeah, we've actually already aired 7 episodes, and I do 2 letters a week. And yeah, I thought that it was going to be more of a comedy podcast. I thought people were going to be telling me about times that they like pooped their pants at a job interview, or like, funny, embarrassing things. Yeah. But it's all been pretty heavy, except for one person who wrote about anal sex, which was pretty funny. But no, it's pretty heavy. People write about this has been the case with me since as long as I can remember, is that people do tend to come to me with like their trauma, people I barely know, and so that tradition has continued with Dear Daisy, and it's I love it, and I love it so much. I would do this for the rest of my life if I could. I love how vulnerable people will be. I love that people trust me to share these things. I love that I'm learning so much. I'm learning a lot. I mean, these are things that I've known, but like I'm learning that like women walk around with so much guilt and shame for things that are not, they don't need to feel guilt or shame about. We just we carry it with us.
Fear, yeah.
And we think we're the only ones. And I think that's why a show like yours is so powerful, is because, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one.
Yes.
Somebody else has felt like this. Did I read as well that you've have experience as a doula?
Yes, I am a doula.
I feel like that has like you're able to like let people be vulnerable and bring things forth. There's like some connection there.
Yeah,
that makes sense. You do have nurturing. I've had 2 doulas, and you doula have their vibe, which is a huge compliment, because to have literal bedside manner, but to be with someone at their most fearful, most vulnerable, and make them feel comfortable and soothed is a huge characteristic to have. And I think your listeners clearly see that in you and feel safe telling you things.
Well, it really is an honor to be able to do it. And I've gotten feedback from people who've said, I thought I was the only one who felt this way. And it's so great to hear how widespread it is, and that it's not my fault. It's just all that stuff. And so it's going in a direction I didn't expect, but I just love it so much.
That's kind of been our experience with Freaky Fridays that we do, that are listener odd but true tales. And there we do get wacky. We haven't got any about anal sex yet. They're coming now. Well, trust me. We're gonna do a whole 10-part series of that, I'm sure. But it's become this place, especially for women, to share their stories about domestic violence, stalking, sexual assault. And we hear so often from listeners, people writing in saying, can you give Daisy from that last Freaky Friday my personal number, because I went through something similar and I would love to connect with them. And even like posting on social to each other and, fan groups. Like, I don't know if that person from that story was here, but you're not alone. And it's just so humbling to know that, like something that, like you said, we all thought this was going to be funny and comedy, and it is, but it's evolved into something that we didn't predict, but that now we can't imagine it not being.
Yeah. It's so great. And it really is. It is an honor to, as I'm sure you feel, to be a container for people's, stories.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
They feel heard. They might not otherwise be able to be heard that way.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing that you're doing.
Yeah. And especially when it's anonymous, people can really say what they need to say without worry, you know?
Yeah.
Let loose for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you have a Freaky Friday story for us here today?
I do.
We're very stoked to hear it.
Well, you know, I was worried because, and I think I wrote to you about this, but I think maybe it's because I'm a skeptic. People tell me I'm not open to it, but I've never seen a ghost. I'd like to. I mean, a fun one.
Same,
not like not a scary one. I have had sleep paralysis since I was a teenager. I've never seen the man with the hat.
Hat man? Mm-hmm.
No. So I was like, I don't know that I have a good story. And then I have, this is my story. So I lived in LA for some time, and me and my family went there on a Sunday afternoon in 2021, I think. So, you know, people were like just really starting to come out of their homes, and we went and got ice cream, and we were standing in this sort of like not alley, but like a little alley that has shops in it.
Right.
You know, not like a
side street with little.
Yeah.
You're standing out by the dumpsters, enjoying your ice cream as one does in Los Angeles.
Exactly. And I looked up and I saw a series of things in the sky that were, you know, circle looking and were definitely shiny, reflective surfaces. And I believe I counted like 12 or 14 of them in a line moving together at the same speed, as far as I remember. Like, you know, like the intervals between them stayed. And then one more came a little later.
Wow.
He was dealing with his hiccups, and that's why he showed up late.
Sorry, guys. I'm coming. I'm on my way.
His spaceship's like, vroom, vroom.
Everyone's pulling up the rear to be like, turn around. This place is garbage. Turn around.
We've made a huge mistake.
He's like, they've exited for Earth. Go and get them. Save them.
Yeah. So I watched them for a while, and I was like, is everybody seeing this? And people started looking up, and everyone was like, what the hell is that? And I tried to get video, but it's grainy. It's all the way up there. And then I Googled it, I think the next day, to be like, somebody else had to have seen this. And I think I saw like one thing on Twitter, God rest Twitter,
R.I.P.
from just a person saying that they saw however many of these there were, a little bit south, which was the way they were heading when they were heading sort of southwest south.
Okay.
And they saw them over a freeway a little bit after I did, south of where I was.
Okay.
But
that's validating that you weren't making it up. Mm-hmm.
And I Googled it the other day, and I couldn't find anything about it.
Wow. What day was this? Maybe some listeners. We have a lot of LA listeners. Has anyone seen these flying discs?
Were you there?
12 to 14.
You know what? It's probably in my photo history.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's the thing about these UFOs or whoever's visiting us in the last probably like 10, 15, well, I guess probably the last like 15, 20 years. They're like, all of them have cameras on them now and video cameras. And they're taking our pictures and they're sending them to each other on this thing called Twitter. We must come to Earth to destroy Twitter. We will change its name to X.
Yeah, maybe they're the ones. Maybe Elon Musk is actually
I think he's
smart. He's something. He's something for sure.
An alien.
Yeah.
Evil alien.
I don't know. Yeah. I like to think aliens are benevolent, and I don't think that of Elon Musk. So I think he's a creature from the depths of some disgusting swamp. Yeah. Slithered out.
I mean, honestly.
He did slither.
He slithered for sure. He doesn't really walk on those legs. Those are fake. He slithers around.
It's an exoskeleton. His chest opens up like it's like a door.
Air comes out.
And then it's like
and he just like scampers across the ground.
post another meme. And they're like, that's really cringe, man. Anyways,
I got to put on my human legs so nobody knows what I am.
Are he and Zuckerberg actually doing that MMA fight?
God. Well, if the world wasn't ending yet, it certainly now is with this news.
I just hope that, like, you know, I don't want to wish pain on anybody, but maybe they'll take each other out.
Maybe
knockout.
You know, nature does us a favor in this one. Maybe it's survival of the fittest, and neither of them are fit. So
exactly.
Ipso facto. ... Therefore. Yeah, what are we going to do without X and Facebook? Probably thrive, I would imagine.
Be much happier and nicer to each other.
Kinder to each other, certainly.
Well, that was the message the aliens gave the children in aerial phenomenon. Right. They saw these visions when they looked into their eyes of technology, and all they could really explain was technology. We need to be careful with it. Like, if we keep using it this way, and that was in the 90s. So
yeah,
I think the prediction was pretty accurate.
They weren't wrong. Yeah, I think they're like, technology. Don't let technology burn the planet. And we're like, oh, whoops! Nobody listened to that.
No.
You know, speaking of which, I saw TikTok the other day. There was some guy. I don't know who the hell he was, but he was like, people often ask me how I can stay so positive. And he was like, you know, with the world falling apart the way it is, and he's like, look, I grew up in the 80s when there was a hole in the ozone and acid rain, and the Russians were going to nuke us. And he listed a few things, and he's like, and now here we are 30 years later, the Russians didn't nuke us. The ozone is getting fixed, the blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, yeah, except that all of the things that they were warning us about 30 years ago are, global warming is happening because of the things they were warning us. So I don't, what are you talking about, dude?
I think it's like, you can't get a cut and then let it turn into a gangrene type of infection and go, listen, but the cut's fixed. The cut's gone.
And you're like, this is something way worse, but it is gone.
Do you see the cut anymore?
Well, I volunteer on Fridays, and my buddy of mine that I volunteer with is in his 70s, and like, so many times he'll just go, mortality is a gift. He'll just say it, like, I'll tell him the story, and I'll be like, well, yeah, technology is advancing to our AIs in the future and in the next 20 years. And being that he's in his 70s, he's just like, mortality is a gift.
That should be the t-shirts that everyone wears to the Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk MMA fight. And then maybe they'll get the message.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he ain't wrong. Well, man, so I don't know what those are. That's a friend of ours saw some UFOs in the sky. Not quite what you're describing, because it was at night and it was lit up. And it did turn out to be a Starlink satellite. When it goes into the sky, it has this like back and forth kind of LED, like, and so it does look disturbing, but it was at nighttime and lit up. And when he went to Twitter and was like, did anyone see a UFO over Dallas? It was like, oh, SpaceX is launching a satellite, but it was very easily like, that's the answer. So
I think I saw that when I was Googling this.
Right.
That's such a usually announce it. You thought you saw a UFO and it's just that. What a letdown. What a letdown.
I didn't know they do them in the day. But our new theory, and tell us how you feel about this, is that there absolutely are visitors from another world, and that they have some connection to the ocean. Like maybe they land in the ocean, because a lot of these sites are a lot of the spotting of a craft, when the unidentified aerial phenomenon was going on a couple years ago, that when the army, I wasn't the army, but the military guys saw it. That was all around the water.
Yes. Yeah. It was over the sea crafts for the Navy. And that's another one. It's like, how do you explain it? Nobody can explain it.
The ocean's too big for something not to be down there. And when we were speaking to Randall Nickerson yesterday, who we also told this theory to, and he was like, yeah, they live underwater, like without pause. He's like, the amount of times I've had people tell me they've seen a craft over water or going into water or coming out of water.
Really?
He said in Antarctica, there's definitely something going on. So he was saying extremes where humans can't live, extreme depths or extreme cold, because they know nobody's going to come knocking on their door because nobody can get to them, but occasionally they are spotted. And I found that fascinating. And another point he made was, you know, if we were in war times and we were trying to spy on another country, you set up a base where you're, you know, and then you send people out. So he was liking an underwater base to something like that, where, this is just kind of their mission and they're here for a while to gain resources probably or information. And then, but for the most part, they leave us alone.
Yeah, I feel like, again, that's like a human being sent to Antarctica for like research. It's like, really? I have to go there? Like,
yeah.
You're like, oh man, I got this horrible assignment. Yeah.
I'll go to Earth, but only if I could be in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, not near anyone. And they're like, okay, you can have the assignment. But when we hear there's only 5% of the oceans that have been explored, I'm like, there could be whole ass things down there we don't know about.
Whole communities we don't know about for sure.
Well, did you hear, speaking of like Antarctica, they found a tube worm, like a prehistoric tube worm that when the ice thawed, it woke up.
It regenerated? Oh,
and not only that, it was pregnant.
Ah!
This ain't the plot of a Michael Crichton novel. This is real life. I mean, this is real life.
Yeah, it just happened very recently.
Is this the only one that's still known of? Like, they're extinct other than this? That's what I'm saying. We're about to bring it back. This is some Jurassic Park shit.
Yeah. Oh, also, there was a woman in the Congo, I think, who was going to the doctors. It's not funny because she was really sick and nobody could figure out what was wrong with her. She was like,
"Please don't say it was a tube worm. Please don't say it was a tube worm."
It was parasitic, like snake worm. I don't remember what they called it, but it was some sort of parasitic ringworm or whatever the fuck in her brain.
Oh,
And when they pulled it out, it was very long, like 8 centimeters or something like that.
What's it coiled in there like an extension cord?
Oh,
God
my
damn.
God.
And then what they figured out was she had harvested some local grasses and didn't clean them properly before cooking them.
Yeah.
And so there was snake poop that had the parasites in it.
Shit, man.
Oh, man.
Something like that, just a tiny little in and it takes it.
Yep.
Man,
This might be a stupid question, but did she survive?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a story to tell
bless.
at her next party.
I know. Could you imagine? She's like, well, let me tell you.
2 truths and a lie.
She's like, oh, a headache?
Really?
Have you ever had an 8-inch?
Parasitic brain amoeba living in your head? Well,
that stops the conversation at a park. Someone's like, I'm just gonna go back to the buffet. It was nice to meet you, though.
I gotta go.
The buffet.
Yeah, she's like, I brought a dish. You should eat it. No, thank you.
No, I'm good. Thank you very much. So,
yeah, damn, though, you're right, though. Thinking about we have unearthed something from the depths of Antarctica. We got to be careful with all that.
So, are they going to? Is Mother going to deliver these babies?
Probably, if she hasn't already. Yeah.
Ain't that about a bitch? You got pregnant, and you're pregnant for like 1 billion years.
Oh God!
But at least you're frozen in time. She's like, God damn it! And I'm cold.
You like fall asleep thinking, oh, the babies will be out when I wake up. And you're like, really? They're not?
They're still here? You mean I still have to be a mother after all this time?
It also goes to show that at least for simple organisms like a tube worm, like cryogenic freezing is a thing.
Yeah.
Right? bringing it back to Elon Musk. They're trying to upload Neuralink, trying to upload brains and freeze bodies. We did a whole transhumanism episode, and it's just so intriguing how the desperation of like wanting to, I want to be immortal. Like, I feel like most billionaires want immortality. And so you tell them we could freeze you and you'd come back, and it's like, you're just a worm when they unfreeze you.
Yeah.
Just a worm. He's always been one.
So. Although I have to say, like in the Buddhism faith, they say, although it's not a religion, I guess it's a practice. But anyway, the belief is that karma, like if you don't get enlightened, you get sent back to Earth to do it again. And if you have bad karma, you come back as like a bug or a worm. And I'm like, that to me doesn't sound like a punishment. Like to be like a non-thinking animal that it basically is left alone, fine. That lives a very short time.
I had like a tiny ass lizard on my my outdoor table the other day, and I was like, it was just standing in the sun, and then I put some water and it was drinking water, and it just drank the water and its eyes were open, and then it looked up and it just closed its eyes, and I was like, what a vibe. And there was a little rock, and I was like, I'd come back as that little lizard.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'd love to be a ladybug. Everybody likes ladybugs.
Yeah. They're lucky.
Or a cat. Cats just sleep. Lay in the sun and sleep.
I want to fly. Yeah.
Yes.
I'd be a spoiled chihuahua.
What'd you say?
Spoiled chihuahua. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said, in my head, I heard Beelzebub, and I was like, you could also come back as Beelzebub. I would like to come back. I got some notes, so I feel like I could change things up a bit while I was there.
I just feel like, wouldn't it suck if you died and came back and you were aware of it and you were like, oh,
God, I'm a ladybug and I used
have to do
be
this
a
again?
podcaster. Then you got to get a ladybug podcast and you introduce a whole new bug's life. Yeah.
It's a matter of time. Oh, that's awesome. Well, we're so glad we got to chat with you today.
Yes, you're so fun to talk to. I know that we're going to have a lot of fun at Obsessed Fest.
Obsessed Fest is, I have to say, it is so much fun to meet all of the listeners, and they're all so excited to be there, and they're just it's a love fest for 3 days. It's really great. Yeah.
We're looking forward to the schedule being announced so that we can mark off and make sure that we get to see you perform live, see all these panels. We're in Dallas, but I think we're going to just try to stay around the whole weekend and take it all in. And like you said, it seems like such a fun, just a way to connect with everybody, with podcasters and listeners and the whole crew. So we're stoked for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a special time.
It's going to be so much
good weather.
Yes, and it's the State Fair of Texas. If you have time beforehand or during the day, a corny dog.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal here.
But for everybody Strange and Unexplained is on podcast apps everywhere. For Dear Daisy, where can folks go to learn more?
So Dear Daisy is part of a podcasting network that myself and Amber Hunt and Amanda Rossman started. They're no big deal. Awesome. They both won Pulitzer Prizes, whatever.
Also won youngest female Tony Award winner. Let's not act like
that's amazing. Yes, we haven't even addressed that, but that is incredible as well. And what was the musical?
The Secret Garden.
Secret Garden, yes. Yeah. That's amazing.
But we started a new network called Grab Bag Collab, and it's a new model. It's all Patreon. So it's only $5 a month is the lowest tier, and $5 gets you all of the podcasts that are on the network. Right now, it's Dear Daisy and Amber and Amanda's podcast, The Catalyst, which is a really great little true crime half-hour show where she doesn't say the name of the killer. So you either are such a true crime fanatic that you know it instantly, or it takes you a while. It's great.
Isn't it kind of like the catalyst of what got them to take on this life of crime? It's like their backstory, that early day backstory of what could have, because we always say it on these true crime podcasts where we talk about the crime and the punishment and the aftermath, but oftentimes it's real, it's real brief up front, and we'll be like, oh, well, this happened. It's kind of like this, mix of bad things that happen to people. So that's really fascinating to drill down to that early moment. I love that idea of what is that pivot point?
Yeah.
Man, we got to tune in.
It's really great. And we're going to be adding quarterly podcasts which will be like 8 to 12 episodes, just like an arc of something, or some of them might be radio plays. Like, we're open to everything. Ooh. And basically what we really wanted it to be, and what we want it to be, is sort of like a collective, where people who have ideas that can't get their podcast sold to a big network because you have to be a big celebrity now, can come try out their idea, get it produced, and then maybe have a package to go sell elsewhere. And it's all profit share, and you keep your IP, which is so great.
Oh yes,
that's key in the industry for sure.
Yeah. So
that's amazing. I love that you've given new creators a platform to hone their skills, and we are both fans of not gatekeeping stuff. So I think that's great. Yeah.
I love it. And so how can people join? Just go to patreon.com/ is it Grab Bag Collab, you said?
Exactly. Patreon.com/Grab Bag Collab. And there's different tiers, and we're all three of us are very busy. We're all parents and we have other full-time jobs. So it's like, we're going slowly. We're not really, we're not crazy about like, it needs to grow. We need to do this fast. Mm-hmm. Like, we're just like, it's going to take time. And so the bonuses that we have so far aren't like the greatest, because we're trying to figure out how to make all of that work. But we like to say that, at whatever level you give, one of the bonuses is that you can really feel like you're supporting women and supporting new work and supporting voices that otherwise sometimes wouldn't get heard. So
that's so valuable. And that's what I was going to say is joining now. You're not joining on the front end of like, oh, I want to get all these perks. It's, I want to be a part of something, and I want to see what more you bring to the table, knowing how great the Catalyst is and how great Dear Daisy is already. If that's the kind of stuff, like, let's go ahead and join now. It's like a Kickstarter, but you already get stuff part of it. That's awesome.
Wait. Yeah, totally. And
that's great.
And I have seen some feedback online from people who don't like Strange and Unexplained because, I'm very opinionated and I can be pretty snarky. And
we love that.
Thank you.
I love it. Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like it, you're just not for me, and that's fine. Right? But the vibe on Dear Daisy is totally different. That's just, it's a whole different can of worms. And usually I'm snarky toward people who deserve the snarkiness, not to people who are writing in to be like, a horrible thing happened to me.
Yeah, certainly. Like I said, you're now like using your doula skills, but for people's stories and secrets. And that's a beautiful thing. And of course you take that with the utmost seriousness and would only be on the side of the writer of who did this to you? Fuck them. Like they'll still, I'm sure there's still some of that in there.
Yeah. Totally.
Exactly. Well, we'd love it. We'll put a link to the Patreon for Grab Bag Collab. We'll put info on Obsessed Fest and Strange and Unexplained and all the show notes. But we cannot wait to hang out with you in Dallas.
Super
and we
stoked.
so appreciate hanging out with you today. What a blast.
Yes. Thank you so much for talking. You. And I can't wait to hang out in person, because we
got so much to talk about.
We all have so much in common that, I'll just talk about aliens for days.
There's just weird. Mostly, I just want to tell you about weird shit in Dallas. Like, you like Strange and Unexplained stuff? We got some weird stuff going on.
Well, I don't know if you've heard of JFK, but there was a little thing that happened here with him.
Patrick requested that we cover the JFK conspiracy, so we're trying to do due diligence. We got Richard Belzer's book on it, so it's going to be wheels off.
Great. I did an episode about the Babushka lady.
Nice.
Oh, great. We'll listen to your episode and we can quote you, since we're at Obsessed Fest.
And then I will tell you guys about my husband's verified ghost story when I see you.
Oh, please. Yes. Because I am like you. I want a ghost. I want an alien. Nice ones. Or neutral. They don't even have to be nice. Just not mean. And I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
So, but
I'm open.
Yes, Randall Nickerson told us, once you are open-minded, then you're more likely to receive a visit. So, he said, the aliens don't approach you until they know you're ready. So
that's fair.
I'm ready.
that's like a dog or a cat or a child or a person, you know?
Well, like you said, right? Or like you said earlier, they're like, it's Earth. Don't put your hands near their mouths. They bite. It's like that kind of thing. Like you're like dogs. Wait till they're ready. Let them sniff you a little and then you can pet them. Yes.
Right.
Make sure you wash the grass if you're going to eat it. So,
well, we're all ready for our alien encounter and we're all ready for Obsessed. Thank you so much.
Maybe it all happens on the same weekend. You know,
we're all going to get taken up. So October 20th through the 22nd in Dallas, you're going to get sucked up.
If you get a bunch of spooky people in one location, I'm just saying, like aliens, you've got a lot of believers in one location. You could just come. It'd be like one-stop shop for whatever you need.
It finally happened. Yeah. We love it. Well, come to Dallas where we've assassinated a president and maybe you'll get a mass alien abduction. TBD. See you in October. But thank you again for being with us today. We so appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, Daisy, and to everybody else for sending in your Freaky Friday stories. If you have an odd but true story, maybe you've encountered Bigfoot, you've seen a UFO, you had a brush with true crime, or you felt the presence of an otherworldly being, send them in at sinisterhood.com/Freaky Friday. If you like our free episodes, you're going to love our Patreon bonus content. You can join for free to see what we're up to next. Alerts get sent out about stuff we posted. So then you can go and see, is this something I might want to listen to or watch, and go from there. We also sometimes post stuff that is available to all. So you don't even have to be a paying member of Patreon to see it. We've been saying over 500 hours for a while, so I'm going to up it to 6 at this point. There's a lot of content on there. We just had our monthly live Q&A last night, which was so very fun. That is up there now, the video. And then we also have audio only for people that like to listen in their cars and stuff. And the same day you're listening to this, so maybe if you're listening to this before 2 p.m. Central, we have our quarterly live stream. And Heather, what are we going to be doing?
We are going to be covering the best of local Facebook Marketplace finds. So I've been scouring our local Facebook Marketplace groups and finding some really disturbing, weird, funny, gross things for sale.
I'm so excited.
And so,
I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's how it's going to be. You're going to be like, I'm so excited. Oh, God, I'm so scared. What is this?
Honestly, I'm going to go through the Jesse Spano of emotions.
It's going to be front to back Jesse Spano.
Also, you get to hear about our post-Beyonce review.
True. Yeah, I was going to say, we do have a slideshow, but we'll also probably talk about the Beyonce concert. So that's 2 p.m. Central on today, Friday, September 22nd. Or if you're listening to this sometime in the future, that's cool. You can go back in time and check out the live stream replay. You can also head to Sinisterhood.com and click shop on the top banner to check out Sinisterhood merch like t-shirts, mugs, totes, stickers, and even clothes for your kiddos. Just go to the website and hit shop on the top banner.
While you're there, you can also review the show, follow us on socials, and check out the episode description for more fun like topic-based playlists and links to live show tickets.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Sinisterhood Pod, like us on Facebook at Sinisterhood. You can also follow us on YouTube at Sinisterhood Podcast. You can see our full video interview with Daisy Eagan, as well as any video interviews we've done, and listen to the whole show on YouTube as well as on TikTok at Sinisterhood Podcast. Check us out on Cameo for all of your personal custom video needs at cameo.com and search Sinisterhood. And we'll pass on a message. Happy birthday, happy anniversary. You got this, pep talks, whatever. We love to do it. Cameo.com. Where are you at, Christy, on the internet?
I am on Instagram at Christy M. Wallace and TikTok at Christy or GTFO. Heather?
You can find me surfing the waves of the World Wide Web. Heather versus the world.
Every time I have a cold, and every time I laugh, I sound like I've been smoking a pack of Marlboros, and I'm sorry. It's got to be awful to listen to.
I saw Aunt Gina on the couch. Hang on, Aunt Gina. She started coughing. Hang on a minute. If I'm Aunt Jackie, you're Aunt Gina.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll be Aunt Gina.
Yeah. Aunt Jackie drinks margaritas like crazy. Aunt Gina is a chain smoker. And they just sit. It's like the sisters on The Simpsons. We just talk shit.
Oh, yeah.
And Waldorf. We just sit together and talk shit.
Gosh. Oh, I'm the grosser one for sure in this situation. Oh, well, I'm sure it's going to only get better after scream singing for 3 hours straight tonight. We'll see what I sound like tomorrow. Well, as always, the devil rules the airwaves.
Keep it creepy.